Hi everyone, my name is Julie. This is Keep Calm with Books and Coffee. I talk about books on this channel, mainly books about magic, and if you want to see more of that, you can subscribe down below. Welcome back, and today we're going to be talking about my anticipated releases for the next 3 months. Hello everyone. So I am not someone who is very good at keeping up on anticipated releases. Personally, I a few years ago was really into pre-ordering books, and then I ended up with a lot of books that I didn't read. So I have kind of backed off of that habit. However, I find that now that I'm shrinking my TBR and I am paying more attention to books coming out, I really want to kind of pay attention here and pre-order ones that I'm really excited for and maybe request them off of NetGalley. I'm trying to get into that process as well. So I have been watching for the upcoming releases for some of my most anticipated books, both in series and new ones that are coming out. So I have a few here for April, May, and June to talk about, and let's jump into it. No one is going to be surprised to hear my very first book that I'm going to mention. It just worked out this way that Faithbreaker by Hannah Kaner is coming out at the beginning of April 1st. It's my most anticipated release of the year, and I can't wait for it. Like I said, this is going to be coming out April 1st, and I'm so excited for this final book in the Fallen Gods trilogy to be in my hands. It's coming out a little bit earlier in the UK, so I'm going off of the US release date, but I'm really excited for this to be here. I'm beside myself. Like I said, this is the final book in the God Killer or Fallen Gods series. In this, we follow Kissin, who is a god killer in a kingdom where gods are outlawed. She is contracted to kill gods, and she comes across a young noble girl who is attached to a god, and they decide to go to a city far on the other side of the kingdom in order to try to solve this problem. So it's a journey book, and they meet a fallen, disgraced knight along the way, and he has his own quest. This series is one of my favorites right now, and I cannot wait for Faithbreaker to come out. I am just chomping at the bit to get to that book. Also on April 1st, we have A Drop of Corruption by Robert Jackson Bennett, which is the second book in the Shadow of the Leviathan series. This is the follow-up to The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. And in this, we are following Anna and Din as they kind of have a Sherlock and Watson relationship. They are investigating a death in the first book where they're wondering if the tree that has literally erupted out of this army engineer's chest is a threat to the Empire or just this one man. It's a really fascinating story, and I cannot wait to continue the series. Next up is Boys with Sharp Teeth by Jenny Howell, and this is where I have to start looking at my notes because they are original books rather than parts of series. This was comped to The Raven Boys, which, if you can see back here, is one of my favorite series of all time. I love that series, and when I saw the description of this, I definitely saw the comparisons. So it starts out by saying, 17-year-old Maren James has spent her entire life living in the shadow of the exclusive Huntsworth Academy, and when her cousin's dead body is found in a creek on school property, Maren knows exactly who's to blame. Adrian Hargraves and Henry Wu, the enigmatic yet dangerously alluring leaders of the school's social elite. So I'm fascinated to see how this plays out. I'm really interested in it. It's one of the few young adult books on this list, simply because it was comped, like I said, to The Raven Boys, and I'm just so interested to see where this goes. It's listed as a thriller as well, and I recently read Ace of Spades, which was also a YA thriller, so I'm kind of interested to see if this is a genre that works for me. Next up on April 22nd is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and truly I do not need to hype this book up more, and I also really don't even need a description to be hyped for it myself, because I have become an Emily Henry fan in the last year or so. I read 3 of her books last year and really adored 2 of them, and enjoyed the other one, but I mean really adored 2. But also knowing that this book is at least in part inspired by Taylor Swift's The Last Great American Dynasty also hyped this book up in my brain. So I absolutely can't wait for this release. In this, we are following Alice Scott, an eternal optimist still dreaming of her big writing break. Hayden Anderson is a Pulitzer Prize-winning human thundercloud, and they're both on balmy little Crescent Island for the same reason, to write the biography of a woman no one has seen in years, or at least to meet with her, the octogenarian, who claims to be the Margaret Ives. tragic heiress, former tabloid princess, and daughter of one of the most storied and scandalous families of the 20th century. So we have Taylor Swift lyrics and we have the vibes of Evelyn Hugo, so I cannot wait. Those were all of my April anticipated releases, and now we move into May, and I have just a few here, but the first is Disco Witches of Fire Island by Blair Fell, and this is expected to be released on May 6th. I told you, I don't normally do this, so there were bound to be a hiccup or two. Anyway, in this, we are following Joe in 1989 and his best friend Ronnie. They set out to spend their first summer working in the gay paradise of Fire Island Pines. Joe is desperate to let loose and finally move beyond the heartbreak of having lost his boyfriend to the HIV/AIDS epidemic. The two friends are quickly taken in by a pair of quirky older house cleaners, but something seems off and Joe starts to suspect the two older men of being up to something otherworldly. In truth, Howie and Lenny are members of a secret disco witch coven tasked to protect the island and the young men like Joe from the relentless tragedies ravaging their community. The only problem is, having lost too many of their fellow witches in the epidemic, the coven's protective powers have been seriously damaged. This seems slightly outside of my normal repertoire, but it is queer romance, it is historical fiction, and it also has a dash of fantasy here, which I am just really interested to explore. Plus, the cover has grabbed my attention on multiple occasions, so I definitely want to check this one out. Then we have A Curse Carved in Bone, Book 2 of the Saga of the Unfated by Danielle L. Jensen. This is the second book and the follow-up to A Fate Inked in Blood by Danielle L. Jensen, which I gave 5 stars last year. I absolutely loved this book. In the first book, we're following Freya, who is a young woman who has been married to this awful, terrible person for a little while now, but she has a secret that she has been keeping. But when her magic is accidentally exposed, she is married off to a man who is trying to take over the island and has seen that she is the key piece of this prophecy. However, this man is older and she's very attracted to his younger son. So it's a bit of enemies to lovers, it's a little bit of, forbidden love, all those good things, and I really loved this book. Can't wait to check out the second one, and it's gonna be gorgeous because the sprayed edges on this first book, so pretty. A Curse Carved in Bone is expected on May 13th. Also on May 13th, we are expecting Can't Get Enough by Kennedy Ryan. This is the third book in the Skyland series, and these are companion novels following young Black women in Atlanta, I believe, where they are each finding their romance. It's a friend group that we follow through trials and tribulations. I have read the second book, This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, and I really, really enjoyed it. However, I think I would enjoy this more if I had gone back and read the first book first and kind of got introduced to the friend group that way. So what I'm hoping to do is kind of read book 1, reread book 2, and then also pick up book 3, but all 3 I have heard just nothing but good things about so far, and since I really enjoyed this book, I definitely want to read the rest of the trilogy. Now we're moving into June releases, and I have 3, the first of which comes out on June 3rd, and it is Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid, another big release that I am really excited for. I've loved several books by Taylor Jenkins Reid in the past, and I'm excited to check this one out as well. In this, we are following Joan Goodwin, who has been obsessed with the stars for as long as she can remember. Thoughtful and reserved, Joan is content with her life as a professor of physics and astronomy at Rice University and as an aunt to her precious niece, Frances. That is until she comes across an advertisement seeking the first women scientists to join NASA's space shuttle program. Suddenly, Joan burns to be one of the few people to go to space. Joan is selected from a pool of thousands of applicants in the summer of 1980, and she begins training at Houston's Johnson Space Center alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates. Then, in December of 1984, on mission STS-LR9, everything changes in an instant. I am positive this book is going to rip my heart to pieces, but I am so ready for it. Next up, on June 17th, we are getting the Rushworth Family Plot by Claudia Gray. This is the 4th book in the Miss Tilney and Mr. Darcy mystery series, which starts with the murder of Mr. Wickham. I'm so excited for this. This is one of my favorite ongoing series right now, and I've had so much fun reading this, and I've been buddy reading most of them with Leander from Leander to the TBR Zero, and this 4th book I think we're both anticipating very highly, but this is going to be so much fun. In this series, we are following the aftermath of the Austen novels and seeing how things would play out if there was a little bit of more murder mystery in their lives post their stories. So we're following the progeny of a couple of our main couples from Austen's canon as they become investigators into these murders and deaths. It has been such a lovely series, such a fun time, and I am so excited for this fourth book to come out. Then my final anticipated release for June is The Listeners by Maggie Stiefvater. This is anticipated on June 25th. I think it's coming out a little earlier in the UK. As I said earlier in this video, I enjoy Maggie Stiefvater's writing, and I'm really interested to see what she does to move into the adult space. But the description of this book is also very intriguing. It starts out like this. High in the Appalachian Mountains is a place quite like any other. The Avalon Hotel and its enigmatic general manager, June Hudson, are famed for offering unrivaled luxury, season after season, to those who come from far and wide to indulge in its beautiful hot springs and take the healing waters. Everything is perfect, perhaps too perfect. So when Avalon is called upon to help the war effort, to oust its guests and host 300 diplomats and Nazi sympathizers, June's priority is business as usual. But as dark alliances and unexpected attractions crack the polished veneer of the hotel, she is forced to reckon with the true price of luxury. After all, only June knows the sacrifice required to keep everyone happy. Her staff, the FBI, and above all, the tumultuous Sweetwater running through the heart of the hotel. I'm fascinated. I need to know what's going on with this. But those are my most anticipated releases for April, May, and June of this year. If you have an anticipated release, I'd love to hear what it is down below. If you aren't feeling chatty and just want to leave me a emoji to let me know you were here, go ahead and leave me like an investigation emoji, since so many of these were like mystery related, like a spyglass or like a spy or something. But that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!